Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7969.
Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at 1045 ESPN and on Instagram at ESPN 1045. For a look behind the scenes, highlights from our shows, the chance to participate in exclusive contests, and more with 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. WNXX Jackson, KNXX Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21 12681. Offices in Baton Rouge.
To rise again.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish Rim on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day, live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer not coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. We got a fantastic spot here at the Ameristar Casino Resort in Council Bluffs, Iowa, just across the river from Omaha. And that's where we will be as long as the Tigers are in Omaha for the College World Series. Jacob Beck and Cassie Sally are back there on the ones and twos in Baton Rouge, and we are fired up to be with you. Our Friday show is always brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp, and we got tons to do over the next 2 hours from Omaha. In 15 minutes, as we always do, we'll talk to Preston Guy about the LSU football Tigers. Got a big commit yesterday, and recruiting full steam ahead over the next couple of weeks. Joe Healey is in Omaha. He is at Charles Schwab Field. We'll talk to him at 1:30 about the entire tournament, and specifically LSU and Arkansas, the two SEC teams that are here in the field, the two teams that will match up tomorrow night in front of what should be an incredible crowd at Charles Schwab Field. Andrew Ellis covers Arkansas for Inside Arkansas, host of the Bombastic podcast. He's going to be with us at 2 o'clock, and I've got lots and lots and lots to do over the next 2 hours. So lock us in. I'm fired up to be here. Let's start the same way we start every day. That is with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
All right, let's get rolling here. I am fired up to be here, y'all. It all kind of sinks in when you land at Epley and you drive in, and I came to the Ameristar, set my things down, and went over to Charles Schwab Field for press conferences, and I saw the Arkansas players practicing in the tunnel, was at their press conference, saw the LSU guys out there practicing, was at their press conference, and took some time to walk around the stadium and just kind of take it all in. I'm lucky to have been here for 3 times previous to this. This is my 4th time, and it's just a special place. It's a special event. And, of course, yesterday was the calm before the storm. There wasn't a lot going on outside of Charles Schwab Field. There were some fans there. There were a few filing into Rocco's. I think LSU registered about 550 Jello shots yesterday. I know that Jared Jones's dad had a couple of those over there at Rocco's. And I walked around, actually stumbled into a putt-putt bar after my work was done yesterday, played a little mini golf, and got a couple of cold beers. And it's just the setting, the energy, the area around, I love. I think it is fantastic. And you could see the smiles on the players' faces in the press conferences, the questions that they were getting. You could see the smiles on the coaches' faces because they're not under the gun right just yet, other than the 2 guys who just started Arizona and Coastal Carolina. It was just a festive environment. And that's really been the case for LSU since they got here. The players arrived on Wednesday. They got to the airport, got in a bus, and went straight to the field. Got to the field, walked around the outfield, took pictures, kind of soaked in the environment. And then Jay Johnson, as they always do, took the whole team to a steakhouse. They do that every single postseason weekend. Hoover, regional, super regional, Omaha, even championship series. If you advance in one stage of the tournament, Jay Johnson takes his team to get a steak. So they went and got a steak on Wednesday night. Kind of a lighthearted workout yesterday. Everybody got an hour and 15 minutes on the field, took a little bit of BP, kind of saw how the wind blows. They had to do their ESPN obligations where they go in and do all the videos that you'll see when they go to commercial break. They're in uniform and they're swinging the bats or, flexing or whatever they do. And they did the press conference. And so yesterday, kind of a lighthearted day. And then they go to the opening ceremonies last night. And then today, you either play or you lock in for a practice. LSU had practice about 2 hours ago here in Omaha, and now it's time to play. And I thought the press conference yesterday was interesting on a couple of levels. I'll give you kind of my two main takeaways from the presser. The first was that Dave Van Horn did announce that Zach Root is going to start for Arkansas. Jay Johnson did not announce a starting pitcher yesterday. He was not asked for a starting pitcher yesterday. I think the Baton Rouge media and the local media around LSU is seasoned enough to where they're not going to ask that question because I feel like they know the answer. I will tell you that Cade Anderson got a question about facing Arkansas and kind of faced it head on and didn't deflect or do anything. So I think the fact that Anderson was there and the fact that he answered that question would suggest that he's going to pitch. I'll talk a little bit now or two about that quote-unquote decision if you think there is one. But Zach Root is going to get the ball for Arkansas, and it feels like LSU is going to counter with Cade Anderson, who pitched Saturday of last week. Ianson pitched Sunday of last week. The other takeaway from the press conference, not necessarily a big story in Baton Rouge and not something I wrote about for LouisianaSports.net, but it was cool. Cam Kojal is on the right side of Arkansas's infield. He plays second base, and he is from Omaha. And he's been he was the City Player of the Year and been a big story in Omaha throughout his high school career. Decided to go to Arkansas, really with one thing on his mind is to getting back to Omaha. But his background isn't just, he's from Omaha, and that's where they play the College World Series. His dad was employed at Rosenblatt and was on the grounds crew, and they've got a farm just outside the city. And on that farm, they built a baseball field and put the Rosenblatt stuff, out where the field is. And he's got a very deep tie to Rosenblatt and to Omaha. His dad, apparently, every time they drive by the old site of Rosenblatt, says "Viva la Rosenblatt" is what he told us yesterday. And so this is like a real full circle moment for him, as someone who quite literally grew up at Rosenblatt Stadium, and then as the tournament moved over to Charles Schwab when he was under 10 years old, has been invested in the College World Series, and he'll get a chance to play on that stage in tomorrow's game. So that's not something that I wrote about, not something we're going to play clips from, because I don't think a ton of you know who Cam Kojal is or really care too much about that story, but it was something that I thought was interesting. My story that I did write at LouisianaSports.net from the press conference, and it was based on the questions that I asked of Dave Van Horn, of Jay Johnson, and of Jerry Jones, was about the ballpark and the way that it plays. There's no argument for the 2013 College World Series. None. You can't have a College World Series where in totality there are 3 home runs hit and the champion does not hit a single home run in the College World Series. That's a joke. And that was the reason I think that most people don't like Charles Schwab Field if they don't. The early returns on it were terrible because you play one brand of baseball the entire year, and then you went to this ballpark and it didn't play like anything that anyone had experienced. And that's because they had the BB core bats and the balls were pretty dead, and the stadium sits down by the river and the wind blows in a lot. And you couldn't hit the ball out of the ballpark. That's part of baseball. And it doesn't have to be as integral as it was at Rosenblatt, where everybody was hitting 5 home runs in every game. But it's got to be an element of the game, right? And I think that they have fixed that over the last 10 years. Home runs reached a high last year of 37. There were 35 hit when LSU won the national championship a couple of years ago. If you remember, in the championship series, Florida went nuts on that Sunday, and LSU went nuts on Monday, and there were 12 home runs hit in those 2 games. So I think that it does play pretty fair. I think it's a great stage, and I think it's a pretty good ballpark, quite frankly, and I love the environment that comes around it. But I wanted to ask the coaches, because Dave Van Horn's now been here 4 times. He's been to this stadium now 6 times. Has been to, and Jay Johnson, this is his 4th time here. And I wanted to ask them kind of what they've learned about the ballpark, how it plays, how you manage your team in the stadium, and maybe more importantly, do you think about this place when you build a team? Because I hear oftentimes college basketball coaches say that they struggle with the sight lines in those huge football stadiums when they get to the Final Four, right? Because you don't deal with that all year, and you've got to try to adjust to it. But it changes every year where they play that. This is the same every year. In baseball, the dimensions and the elements are unique ballpark to ballpark. Basketball court's the same. Goal's 10 feet. Football field's 100 yards long, 52 yards wide. Like, baseball changes. But this is the place that you have to win in to climb the mountaintop every year. And so I asked Dave Van Horn and Jay Johnson about that, if they think about that when they build their teams. And both guys gave almost identical answers, like almost exactly the same. Dave Van Horn said, look, you got to win in your league first. And that's the most important thing to get to this point. And Jay Johnson said, well, it's not like any ballparks we play in the SEC, but it would be short-sighted to just think about Omaha when you build a team. Like, it was almost the exact same answer from both of them. And then they said, but you got to be able to do a lot of different things when you get here. And so you have to build a well-rounded team. And Dave Van Horn felt like his team is very good in that respect. And Jay Johnson said that little thing. Said, look, we can hit the ball to the ballpark. We can move the baseball. We can play in the bunt game. We can situational hit. Like, we think we're good at all that. So they basically gave the exact same answer. But I thought what was really interesting was I talked to Jerry Jones about his at-bats and whether or not he thinks about the weather and he thinks about the ballpark he's in. And he said yes. And I thought that was a very candid answer, and I thought that was an interesting answer because he's watched from the dugout as his teammates play in this ballpark. And if you remember back, in the middle of the week when LSU played Wake Forest and Tennessee in the losers bracket game against Tennessee, and then in the first game against Wake Forest, the ball wasn't flying. Nate Ackenhausen went 6 shutout innings, and LSU beat Tennessee 5-0. Nobody hit a home run. And then the next day, you had that incredible ball game, and LSU wins behind a bullpen day, and the ball wasn't flying. And then you had Skeens and Louder, and nobody was going to get a hit in that game. That was the pitching. White finally got a home run late in that game. And then after that period of no offense in the middle of that week, you got to the championship series, and the ball was really jumping. And he's seen that. And he said, yeah, I mean, you got to pay attention to that kind of thing, but really you got to control the strike zone first and foremost, and hardline drives always play. But it's this ballpark is a storyline because a lot of college baseball parks are small. Like, I can name you teams like Wake Forest, like Georgia, like Tennessee, like Coastal Carolina that play in tiny offensive ballparks. Then you've got yards like Dish Falk in Texas that are very big. You've got yards like Alec Box. I agree with Jay Johnson. The Box kind of plays the most fair. I think the first 6-7 weeks, it's kind of tough to hit there. And then generally speaking, the wind turns around and it becomes a pretty offensive friendly ballpark. But I think it plays pretty fair. But then everybody's got to come here. And I think my opinion is that the ballpark does play fairly now. It did not. It does now. And I think it provides an incredible stage for college baseball, both around the ballpark with the great environment that they've created here in Omaha, and then with what the play is on the field. I think it's really, really cool. So great for me personally to get back to Omaha, to walk around, to see the bars and restaurants that I've been to kind of bring back those memories from 2 years ago when I was here for the championship series. And I know that it's interesting to talk to people. I just ran into a family of LSU fans that are here from Gretna that have never been here before. A buddy of mine who's never been just texted me, just left Barrett's where he got some lunch and a cold beer. And look, I just got a text from a buddy who was here that I ran into after the game when they won in 2023 that's on the flight up here. And I know that there are going to be a ton of Tiger fans that make the journey up to Omaha. If you're listening to us en route to Omaha, be careful and safe, whether you're flying or you're taking the long trip from Louisiana. Get here safely and enjoy the festivities. If you're hanging out at home for this College World Series and watching on TV and listening to us every day, certainly appreciate that. And we will be here as long as the Tigers are. If LSU's 2-0, I'll fly home on Tuesday. If LSU wins the national championship in Game 3, I'll fly home the next Tuesday. That's when my flight's booked for right now. Incidentally, it's at like 5:30 in the morning. So maybe that's a really happy 5:30 in the morning for me, but it'll be a good problem to have if we get there, right? So I'm set up here at the Ameristar Casino and Resort. I'm right outside the sports book. I'm in heaven here. College World Series is on one TV. The U.S. Open is on another TV. If you're looking for things to do as you come up to Omaha, want to spend an evening coming over here, they've got a phenomenal steakhouse in the resort. They've got a great gaming floor, and they got a sports book right here with all the College World Series odds and all on TV. They've also got the U.S. Open on as well. Got all the odds right here at the ESPN Bet Sportsbook for the College World Series. And we're going to talk about the other matchups as we move forward in the show. So we've kicked things off. Let's keep it rolling. We'll talk Preston Guy. Tigers got a big football commitment yesterday. We'll tell you about it coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Love bourbon? Then there's only one sports bar worth celebrating National Bourbon Week, and that's Twin Peaks. From June 11th through June 15th, you can score days of spirited cocktail specials at your local lodge, all served over our signature ice ball. And if mixed drinks aren't your play, ask your bartender to pour you something from the Barrel Selects. There's only one sports bar worth celebrating National Bourbon Week, and that's Twin Peaks. And don't forget our 29-degree draft beers. Twin Peaks, eats, drinks, scenic views.
Men, if you're on testosterone replacement therapy and your doctor prescribes you to give blood regularly, Decision their private nurses are now offering in-home at-work therapeutic phlebotomy services so you can maintain healthy red blood cell levels and stay hydrated. Decision Critical works with your healthcare provider to reduce your need for frequent clinic visits. It's not just healthcare, it's healthcare for your lifestyle. Visit decisioncriticalbr.com to schedule a discovery call today.
Community banks touch every corner of our lives. They support us as we turn life's goals into accomplishments. Goals like going to college, opening a small business, buying a home, planning a wedding, or having a baby. From your first car to a new life after retirement, Landmark Bank is here for all of life's milestones. At Landmark Bank, we can provide you with various solutions through personal and business checking, savings, loans, and competitive CD rates. Let's get started. Call me, Jennifer Knapp, at 225-719-1578.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Fire up the grill Father's Day. Rouse's has 80% lean ground beef, ground fresh daily by our butchers for $3.87 a pound, a savings of $2.12 a pound. USDA Prime Angus beef, whole short loin, $10.97 a pound. Fresh bicolor corn, 6 for $1. Buy all 6, save $2.54. Sweet free, save $29. Bourbon, Buffalo Trace, Bullet, or Maker's Mark Bourbon, just $22.99. Happy Father's Day from Rouse's.
Maybe you've heard that word of mouth is the best advertising. At Guaranteed Media, we agree.
We have the biggest mouths in town.
4 local radio stations featuring influencers from Baton Rouge.
Local radio speaks to local people.
And our stations have the audience you need. Our marketing executives will help you fine-tune your message to reach potential customers more effectively. To learn more,
visit 1045ESPN.com and click Connect. That's 1045ESPN.com and click Connect.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay is my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Well, good morning, kiddo. I love that you're home from college. I've missed you.
Still taking your nature-made vitamins?
Every day. A multivitamin and a probiotic. You better be taking yours.
Still looking out for me, Mom.
I'll never stop.
Made to care for you every day. Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand. Find us in the vitamin aisle, based on a survey of pharmacists who recommend branded vitamins and supplements.
Step into luxury at the Watermark Hotel, downtown Baton Rouge's premier full-service destination.
30. Cool. I can't believe it.
Elegance with modern sophistication. Whether you're planning a weekend get,
yeah, I'm shocked.
specialize in creating unforgettable experiences. Visit watermarkbr.com to
I'll get in a second. Hold on.
tell where history meets luxury.
Live from Omaha, powered by Our Lady of the Lake, Championship Health for everybody, and presented by GoFlow Ivy Spa and Yingling Flight. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Friday edition of Hunt Palmer Show, always brought to you by Corpus Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Look, I know a lot of y'all are going to have some watch parties. Gulf shrimp, crispy fried catfish, shoestring fries. Got a crew? Call Corks. They can always help you out with. Maybe you just got a Hester-sized family and need to feed 100 people under your roof all the time. Corks can help with that as well. Check them out online, corksfishandshrimp.com, corksfishandshrimp.com. We are here at the Ameristar in Iowa, just across the river from Omaha, Nebraska, and the College World Series is underway. A rematch of the 2016 final between Arizona and Coastal Carolina. I won't say that with an earshot of Jay Johnson. Some bad memories there as Coastal went on to win that national championship. They are underway from across the river. I'm going to go check out the nightcap tonight between Oregon State and Louisville. I'll talk about that a little bit later on today. All right, let's go talk some football. PrestonGuyTigerBait.com gives us some time each and every Friday. Does now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Preston, I got a bone to pick with the football program here. I'm in a press conference at Charles Schwab Field. I'm trying to cover the College World Series, write some stories about weather and ballparks and such, and we're getting football commitments in the middle of all that. Then I got to go right on a beautiful day in Omaha. It sounds like good news for LSU, no?
Hey, look, he's a big kid now. He is a Mississippi kid. That's bad news. Not that there's anything wrong with Mississippi, but always some funny stuff going on. But you got a good one out of New Albany, Emmanuel Tucker, and this offensive line class, 26 group, they look good. I mean, this is a good class. They're going to keep on going with guys like Emmanuel Iheanacho. They're still going after him. So
I certainly will, and I think my confidence level in Brad Davis as a recruiter, as a developer, is very high. But I understand LSU fans' trepidation because of the inability to run the ball the last couple of years, and that's something we've talked about a lot. But if we can just kind of siphon that part off and just go towards recruiting and the talent that he's bringing in, the numbers that he's bringing in, and what those guys kind of look like as they move through, what's your assessment of Brad Davis's position group as a whole?
Well, it certainly has the talent, numbers, size, star power that you're looking for here. But, remember, and Brad Davis, he's had a 4-year tenure at LSU, and ultimately, remember 2021 as well. Although that 2021 group, they kicked on towards the end of the year. Remember how, they were laughably bad at the beginning of the year. You haven't really had an offensive line forged the way consistently because they had Tyrion Davis-Price broke the rushing record against Florida, but outside of that, they hadn't really consistently paved the way for a running back yet. So I don't have any question. The bodies are there. Spring, I think that lineup we saw during spring is not going to be close to the lineup we get during fall. The more Coach Wheeler's around, the more I get confidence that they didn't bring in Braylon Moore to come be backup center. You know what I mean? And he's not leaving Virginia Tech or he's a starter, a good one too, to come be the backup here in the shoes. So I think they definitely have the guys here, but I do think it is time that Brad Davis puts together an offensive line that can actually open up holes in the running line.
We talked about June being a big month in terms of visitors, all that in this recruiting cycle. You guys at Tiger Bait had a great list and recaps of the visits last weekend. And there's another crew that's coming in this weekend. Can you kind of set the stage, one, for what we saw last weekend and what's coming this weekend as far as recruiting goes?
Yeah, look, it's going to be another big weekend. Lots of kids on campus here. It's been big, though. Every weekend they're just having tons of kids on campus. I tell you, Tristan Keys is a big one. I don't think he'll be here this weekend, but next, okay? This weekend, they're set to you got J.J. Bush, Wow, that's a Georgia commit, Darius Gray, DeAnthony Lafayette. Just it's a very large list of kids that they're going to be bringing in. And then next weekend, that doesn't Blaine Bradford from the town. I already mentioned Tristan Keys, which that's going to be huge because his team with that LSU 7-on-7 didn't make it last weekend. So to get him back for an OB, that's going to be huge. Booby Feaster, Lamar Brown. I mean, this weekend is going to be a lot of kids. It's going to be the next weekend after that where you're going to see more and more names. Where you're like, oh, that's a big deal. You got to get Lamar Brown. You got to get, Tristan Keys on campus.
And then you mentioned Blaine Bradford. Do you close the book on that recruitment, or do you think LSU is still going to keep knocking on that door and maybe eventually walk in?
I don't know if they walk in, but they're going to keep on banging on that door.
Yeah.
One of the best safeties in the country, and he's right there in your backyard. And for some reason, he's committed to Ohio State, and you need to work on that. You don't want a kid that good going to the country in your own backyard, especially when LSU is doing everything they can to hold on to that BBU moniker right now. You got some kids there, but they're going to continue working on him. I don't know that he's shutting. I mean, he's certainly not shutting LSU out at this point. The fact that he is taking an official visit, and that at least still, are on his radar.
Yeah, no question about it. It's when Nick Saban was at Alabama and you saw some kids that would go to Tuscaloosa, as disappointing as it generally was, it was never stunning. A Louisiana kid go to Alabama because of the role that they were on. And Ohio State is phenomenal. They're obviously the defending national champions, but Louisiana kids have not made that decision. Every recruitment is a little bit different, but did it surprise you when he pulled the trigger and decided to commit to Ohio State?
Yeah, it did, and especially as early as that, because a lot of times these highly, highly recruited kids, when they leaving LSU, they don't want to do it that early because they don't want to, have their entire senior year be harassed by LSU fans, But hey, bold move for him to pull that trigger. We'll see if LSU can change his mind during that time. But I mean, think about like Landon Collins. He waits till January after he's already graduated to announce it, And I mean, that's just historically these kids, the high-profile ones, have always waited later. So we will certainly. Let's put it like this. I certainly hope the kid can still enjoy his senior year either way.
No doubt. I'm sure that he will. Look, it's not as if he committed, some tiny little school that doesn't win anything. That's a pretty prestigious program that he's committed to. We'll see if LSU can make some inroads there. The last guy I wanted to talk about a little bit, and it's a familiar name to every LSU fan, is Colton Nussmeier. On campus yesterday, Doug Nussmeier drove over from Saints camp. It was obviously there, being the starting quarterback at LSU. Where do you think that one ends up, and do you know anything?
The entire Nuss bus was there yesterday.
They were.
The dad, the big brother, and the little brother. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. I think Joe Sloan has an interesting dilemma with the quarterback situation. We've talked about Bo Bentley in 26 so much, and I don't think anybody really knows what the backup plan for 26 is if you don't get Bo Bentley, right? But then you've got Nussmeier, and I'll tell you what, I got to film and see two other very, very talented quarterbacks in the 27 group last week, and that's Pop Houston and Jahaven, who I got to talk to both. And it seems like LSU is doing a great job recruiting all three of those kids. It's just you got to go out there and determine which one's better. Colton Nussmeier's a lefty, but he's got a cannon on him. He might be. It looks like he's an inch taller than Garrett. You've got family legacy tie-in. Elijah Haven's probably the highest recruited of the bunch. He's every bit of 6'5". Probably has the most physical tools of them. But I'm gonna tell you, the best high school quarterback of the group. I don't know if this projects in the college, but the best high school quarterback. That's Peyton Houston out of Evangel. The kid is an absolute beast of great decision making. It's just the height. The height is going to be the thing you hear about. He's legitimately 5'10". So, you have to sit there and wonder if he's got the size to play in the SEC. So, I think they're doing a great job with all three, recruiting them. I think they just need to decide which one they're going to pull the trigger on, or if maybe they bring in two. We'll see.
Crazy time in the recruiting world. Summer always is. They've got you covered over at tigerbait.com. Preston, awesome job with Mike Scarborough and the team over there, and we appreciate a little bit of time on this Friday. Have a great weekend, man. Thanks.
All right, Hon. Talk to you soon.
Preston Guy, tigerbait.com. I love I love the gambler. I'm right here outside the sports book here in the Ameristar, and I just had a guy, Kyrie, that just came over and he said, "You know about this baseball?" I was like, I'm covering it. I know a little bit about it. He goes, "I got Western Carolina -2. Is that okay?" I said, "Oh man, I think you're thinking about Coastal Carolina." And it's just, there are just people that are kind of wired like that. Like, he clearly has no idea who he's betting on, but he's just needed to get action down because it's there. I'm fascinated by point spreads. I just don't like watching games with my dollars. I would rather just watch it without the dollars, so I don't ever bet. But I like watching point spreads, and I think it's interesting to cover the whole deal. But yeah, like my guy Kyrie, like, he didn't really care. He just wanted to get some cash down, so he did on Coastal Carolina -2. I'll keep you posted on that score from across the river at Charles Schwab Field. Joe Healey will join us coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. Every car that's on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. If you're listening to me right now, there's a pretty good chance you've never gotten behind the wheel of a Genesis. It's because, statistically speaking, it's a fairly new brand in the car world, and so most of you haven't gotten behind the wheel. How about changing that? Just out of curiosity, go drive one. Stop by Airline at Pico, or don't. They'll come to you. Contact them at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Say, hey, I'd like to test drive either sedan, SUV, whatever your car of choice or your family situation is, and just let them bring the car to you and get behind the wheel. You'll see the difference. It's a luxury vehicle. It's a luxury experience at a reasonable price. As I mentioned, they're at Airline at Pico, just across from Women's Hospital. And you can check out the entire inventory online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. That's genesisofbatonrouge.com.
What does it mean to be your largest locally owned bank? It means being more than a bank. And my friends at Gulf Coast Bank and Trust are partners, neighbors, and advocates for local success. From healthcare to education to energy and everything in between. Large and small businesses alike, Gulf Coast Bank fuels growth and progress with smart banking solutions. You want a bank that cares about you? Get to know Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, and let's make it happen. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Stabs Prime Steak and Seafood? Stabs Prime Steak and Seafood. Well, I guess along with those sizzling steaks, we do have wood-fired oysters and scallops, beautiful sea bass, fresh Gulf fish and shrimp, and rich Ora King salmon. So yeah, Stabs Prime Steak and Seafood. Jefferson Highway across from Palermo Ristorante. Tell Leo that Kevin sent you. And don't forget, there ain't no cake in that crab cake. Come and see us.
Brock is growing again. We're proud to welcome Dr. Jeb Broyles, Dr. Art Hess, Dr. Matt Mozik, and Dr. Alan Schroeder from the Bone and Joint Clinic. Another step in Brock's commitment to delivering high-quality orthopedic care. Learn more at brortho.com.
Louisiana's big weather can mean big damage to your roof. Our team offers free inspections and guarantees your satisfaction. Call 756-8603 or visit riceandroofing.com.
Just to be on the safe side.
Termites are swarming, and your contract might not be enough. Locally owned Aero Termite and Pest Control has been fighting termites for 68 years, and now we're offering our termite contract takeover. Many homes qualify for Aero to take over your contract for close to your renewal price. With free inspections and our full arsenal of treatments, Aero's got you covered. Call us today at 225-751-8900 or visit us online at aerotermiteandpestcontrol.com to schedule your free inspection. When the bugs gotta go, call Aero Termite and Pest Control.
Remember the 1970s? A lot has changed. But one thing has not changed: Washington's regulations on local stations. Regulations that make it tough for local TV and radio stations to compete with global big tech platforms. If you want to keep local news and live sports on TV and radio, we need updated regulations. Tell Washington to modernize the rules to help local stations compete. Learn more at nab.org/modernize the rules. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Hot days, cool deals are heating up at Jim's Firearms. Score weekly savings, free gear, and ammo perks on top brands you trust all summer long. New deals drop every week, so there's always something locked, loaded, and ready for you. Hit the range or the woods ready to roll. Shop now at jimsfirearms.net.
Looking for a roll-off dumpster? At Trash Rangers, we have 3 sizes, and we offer dependable service, personalized attention, transparent pricing, and we're community-focused at trashrangers.com.
Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. 5 brands on one lot. Shop BayouAutomotive.com.
Live from Omaha, powered by Our Lady of the Lake, Championship Health for everybody, and presented by GoFlow Ivy Spa and Yingling Flight. This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Back here at the Ameristar Council Bluffs, Iowa, just across the river from Omaha, Nebraska. College World Series here in Omaha for the 75th consecutive year. LSU and Arkansas tomorrow, 6 o'clock game. First game underway, Arizona and Coastal Carolina. We're going to talk about all of it here over the next 90 minutes. Our pleasure to welcome Healey to the show. He's here in Omaha, assuming at Charles Schwab Field. Usually joins us on Thursdays. I was traveling. Good enough to give us some time on this Friday. Joe, thanks for the time. How are you?
Pretty well. I can confirm in the press box at Charles Schwab Field, so I've made it. Anytime you in this you in the season in Omaha is a good end to the season.
For sure, you get to do it a little bit more than LSU fans. This is 20 out of 40, so that's a pretty good run for the Tigers. And nice production value on the pregame show. Y'all were in the chairs on the concourse. I very much enjoyed that watch this morning. The whole D1 baseball crew and enjoyed a lot of the content there. Let's just start up front. Y'all picked who you thought would get through this, and you have the same pick I do, which is Arkansas. That's who LSU opens with. Give me a feel why.
I just think their best has been better than anybody else's best this season, right? I mean, and in the year when no one in the SEC was really that consistent, it felt like they were the most consistent. We saw their best more often than we saw anybody else. So that's really the biggest reason. And then beyond that, it's just, look, it's a tough matchup when those two teams are going to face off here tomorrow night. But, if there's somebody who can go toe to toe with Kane Anderson in this field, that's not his teammate and Anthony Ianson, it's Zach Ruth, especially with the way he pitched last weekend. So when that first game, as important as it is, and we know that it is, if you want to win this whole thing, he's a guy that can go toe to toe with anybody in the country. And especially if that heavy sinker is working, I keep the ball on the ground. I think you've got a good chance to win there. I don't love in my think of having to deal with, probably the second best team in the field right away. Don't love that, but I'm going to continue to ride with them because when they were on, they're just so scary.
I go back to last week, and I know that you certainly watched the game and broke it down, but they just really put up good at bat against Liam Doyle. Do you think there's a parallel between Anderson and Doyle, other than that they're left-handed, and does that give you some confidence in Arkansas tomorrow, or is that just two completely different situations?
No, I think it's fair because it's two guys that are kind of doing a similar thing. Stuff's a little bit different. Doyle obviously has the fastball that is on another planet, and I think Anderson's secondary stuff is better than Doyle's. But so there's some differences, but I think there are some similarities in terms of they're trying to do the same thing. Like it's two guys that are going to try to throw a ton of strikes, but they're also, they're going to work some counts because they're looking for punch outs. They don't want the ball in play. So I think there is some of that, if Arkansas is just willing to, hey, we're going to have to be comfortable hitting the two strikes. We're going to have to be comfortable being in 2-2, 3-2 count and then working it from there, which is kind of what we saw in the Tennessee series. Yeah, I do think they can get to him. So I think that is a valid thing to bring up. But man, it's just kind of hard to imagine that they would get Doyle and Anderson in 2 straight weeks. That's just not how college baseball works. But yeah, it could be on the menu if they are able to replicate that.
Another key for you with LSU and Arkansas, I want to talk about some of the other games in the field, but is there another key that you've kind of considered as you've broken this thing down?
Yeah, I just think it's, both teams have really quality bullpens, and this is really simplistic, but, you see it so often. Guys get here that have been really, really good all season long, and they step on the mound out here, and it's just different. And they can't tell you exactly why, and they can't tell you exactly how it went wrong or what have you, but it is just different when you get on this mound. And so is one bullpen a little bit better in those high leverage moments than the other? I think that's the quality is not in question for either team. It's just going to be a matter of meeting the moment for those two bullpens.
Do you expect to see Gabe Gackle first out of the Arkansas pen on Saturday, whenever that is?
Yeah, I think so. When you got a bullet fire that's as good as that one, I think I have theorized a little bit about the idea that you get cute, and if you have a comfortable lead somehow, or what have you, maybe you go somewhere else. But I've had enough people tell me, no, I just think you got to go straight to Gackle, and I think I've come off that point. So yeah, I think we'll probably see Gackle come out first, and honestly, it's hard to argue if you can cover an entire game with Root and Gackle. Why wouldn't you?
LSU 2 years, 2 trips a row has come through the losers bracket to reach the final. They came through Oregon State in 17, juggernaut. They came through Wake Forest 2 years ago, but that was after losing the second game in Omaha. Do you feel like either of these two teams, LSU or Arkansas, said they're maybe the two best teams, is equipped to come back after a loss on Saturday?
I think either could. The question is going to be, how much it comes down to third starters, right? Because that to me is the biggest difference between, losing early here and then staying on the right side of the bracket and thinking kind of get away with two starters all the way through if you stay on the good side of things. The minute you lose the game, you start to have to look at a third starter. It's how much do you trust that guy? Again, the quality is really not in question with the pitchers they would go to there, but it's just it's just the consistency, right? I do like the depth of the Arkansas bullpen. It feels like maybe they have more guys they trust right now than LSU does from a bullpen standpoint. So I might lean that direction, but then honestly either could. And I think part of that too is, let's be honest. I mean, it's the bracket UCLA, and those are two very different teams. I think they're both teams that LSU and Arkansas can handle, even playing their plus baseball. And I think that's also part of this, that you feel pretty good against a third starter against UCLA or Murray, and you put yourself in position to be competitive if you come back up against Arkansas, LSU, whoever.
I feel like I've got a pretty good read on Murray. I don't think my read on UCLA is good at all. I looked back at their box scores. In the regional, they sent their top two arms out there, 2 gigs. Neither recorded a strikeout, and they still managed to get through. That's kind of fun to me, watching SEC baseball every week where guys are all throwing 97 and striking everybody out. But what do you make of UCLA's pitching staff, being that they don't strike very many teams out, but their numbers are
pretty good? Yeah, one that either you're going to work extremely well here or not well at all. And it really comes down to two things. One is, how is the ballpark playing? And if it's playing big, I think that's the way to go. You just kind of put the ball in play and trust that you're not going to get beat by the home run. And, so that could work well. But if the ballpark's not playing big, that becomes problematic. And then also, if you're just not locating, I mean, if you're working 89-mile-an-hour two-seam, you better make sure that thing is target spot. Hitters these days, I don't care what conference you're in. College baseball in 2025, 89 not located well is going to get hammered. And so there's a couple factors there. But they do have to pitch, on pitch. Like they are pitchers. And one thing they've done differently, though, that I will say, I recently credit John Savage just kind of shows the way he approaches pitching. He used to be very regimented. 3 starters, a 7th-inning guy, an 8th-inning guy, and an 9th-inning guy. I think he's evolved, and he realized that his pitching staff isn't built that way. Kudos to him. Like he's now more what we see in the rest of college baseball. The guys I trust are going to come in early, and then whether that's the 3rd, 5th, or the 6th, we're going to the same guy, kind of regardless of scenario. So they have evolved a little bit in that regard. And Rock Chalowski might be the best player on the field. Yeah. Their shortstop. So it'd be fun to see him, because Franklin, just because of the Big Ten of it all and the I just haven't seen much of him, honestly.
He's a superstar. The statistics are awesome. Then you turn on the YouTube videos, and you can see it offensively and defensively. He is a star. Murray, 4th 4 seed to get here. You had Fresno State, obviously. Oral Roberts a few years ago, and the Stony Brook came through Baton Rouge. Can't forget that one. But I heard Aaron Fitt on y'all's preview say this is not like those two teams. This is a team it's a threat. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, I think a threat is a good way to put it, because I think, they've done enough this season that you kind of have to respect the idea that, they're at least going to score some runs on you and make you have to respond. Now, we've also seen these Cinderella stories. They just kind of, flame out and it just doesn't go well. So that's also on the menu. But I think the thing with Murray, and I've talked to some scouts and some other coaches about them this week, is just that, look, they're under-talented relative to the rest of the field here. But the one thing the other team here is that they just don't swing and miss. I mean, they're willing to take some pitcher's pitches, but if they swing, it's because they're confident they can hit the ball in the gap and do damage with it. So, you're going to have good stuff. You have to look. If you're too much in the strike zone, it doesn't matter how hard you throw it or how sharp your stuff is. If it's middle, they are going to hammer it. So, credit's been there. And, everybody says, they never had a pitching. Well, they kind of already had. Already in the postseason, I think it's above 9, and it hasn't mattered. So, it's not even like they're really getting away with anything. It's just that they've been able to score their way out of it.
No doubt about it. I saw their starting pitchers postseason ERAs, and they're all over 6. I was like, well, that's quite a run to go on. Good job swinging the bats, boys. You got a sense on the 4 teams that play today and who you feel like is going to come out of that bracket?
Yeah, I really like those songs. I'm sitting here watching them go up 2-0 and still pressuring. But their starting rotation is one that most SEC teams not called Ellis, Tennessee, like probably trade their rotation straight up for. Like it's two guys in Fluky and Morrison that are real pros, have a chance to be big leaguers, and a guy Riley Eichhoff who's just a classic fifth-year senior college pitcher who's known and knows how to use his repertoire. And everybody needs a guy like that. And you combine that with the fact that, talking to a scout at the Sun Belt tournament, just said, hey, this is a team that takes everything. It's their first to third on every single, second to fourth, all their fly balls. They get great dirt balls. They just don't give you opportunity. If you're going to beat them, you're going to have to beat them. They're not really going to give you a window to come in and play C-plus baseball and beat them. So I think that's in this side of the bracket where it feels like four teams that could come out of it. I'm going to lean on that pitching talent and the fact that they're just not a team that's going to beat themselves.
Best time of the year. It's the College World Series here in Omaha. Great time to go over to D1Baseball.com. Check out that extra package. Joe's got you covered. All the Tigers are here and beyond if they get home a little bit early. Good enough to give us some time here on this Friday. Get back to baseball, Joe. I may see you up there tonight.
All right, thank you, buddy.
Joe Healey, D1 Baseball's SEC Extra Team. We'll come back and close out the hour next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Hall has seen 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, obviously, when you think renovation, you think huge scale, you think lots of dollars, and sometimes that's the case. Like sometimes you got a big project. David Duvall's happy to help you with that, whether it's bathrooms or closets or both. But sometimes it's just something simple like a tub to shower conversion, where you got an old dingy bathtub, you don't ever use it, it doesn't serve a purpose. All you do is take showers. Well, put a shower in, put in a glass walk-in shower, change the aesthetic of your bathroom, change the functionality of your bathroom. Add some value to your home. Tub to shower conversions do not have to be incredibly time inclusive. They don't have to be invasive as far as workers in your home all the time. They don't have to be massively expensive, and they can make a big difference. So contact David Duvall at OneBathAndClosets.com and start your process with that free consultation today. Just talk to David about what you'd like to do. He's happy to help. It's David Duvall at One Bath and Closets. You can find him online at OneBathAndClosets.com.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. The first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
This is Will Campbell with the Tigers. Louisiana National Bank is committing to making every interaction with its customers an experience that's more exceptional than any you've ever encountered. If you're looking for a teammate to help you achieve your financial dreams, come see one of the Louisiana National Bank's uncommon bankers. Equal housing lender. Member FDIC.
Looking for your next adventure without the commitment? Check out our rentals at All-Star Toyota. When you rent, not only will you get 7 days for the price of 6, you can try before you buy. Rent any of our new vehicles, sedans, trucks, SUVs, and try out your choice. And the best part, if you love it, you can buy it. Try before you buy at All-Star Toyota on Airline at Goodwood.
Water is water, right? Not when it's Evermore. Smooth tasting Evermore water is Mother Nature's masterpiece. Evermore is natural artesian water. Maybe you want a healthier lifestyle, a high-end athlete who wants better hydration, or a parent who wants something healthier for their kids. You want Evermore. EVAMOR. Evermore. Available at great local retailers.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge mobile app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the microphone icon to send us your thoughts in an audio message. Your message could be played on air. Find our app in the Apple or Google Play Store. For direct links, visit 1045ESPN.com. Southeastern Conference, all in one place. LouisianaSports.net. No paywalls, no article limits. It's just the coverage the Louisiana sports fans want. Bookmark it today. LouisianaSports.net.
Please consider making a donation locally through St. Vincent de Paul that truly helps people in need. If you have a boat, car, motorcycle, for use, please consider donating it to St. Vincent de Paul. This donation could get you a tax deduction. Visit svdpbr.org.
1045 ESPN, Baton Rouge. Live from Omaha, powered by Our Lady of the Lake. Championship Health for everybody. And presented by GoFlow Ivy Spa and Yingling Flight. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
A huge shout out to the sponsors who made this trip possible for us, and a shout out to Corks, who makes every Friday possible for us here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. Looking for a late lunch? Get over there on Government Street between Foster and Jefferson and check them out. If you got a watch party for the College World Series coming up tomorrow for the Tigers and Hogs, get Corks for the whole crew. Fantastic stuff over there. Tell the Hunt Palmer Show sent over there. I know the Medica boys will appreciate. Shout out to Corks. CorksFishAndShrimp.com. Got the odds here for ESPN Baton just outside the sportsbook here at the Ameristar in Council Bluffs. And got the odds. College World Series winner Arkansas only plus 175 for the Hogs coming back. They are the favorite, slightly above LSU, who is at plus 200. Those odds are going to swing massively tomorrow at about 9 o'clock, and we'll see what happens when that does occur. The next favorite is Coastal Carolina, as Joe mentioned, and that was before they went up 2-0 today, obviously, on Arizona. People really like that pitching staff from Coastal, and they just do a good job of putting pressure on pitchers. Obviously, the game one with Auburn was a gripping game. It was a heartbreaker for Auburn in the wee hours of the morning to lose like that late. But they really handled Auburn in that second game, especially with their pitching. And that's an impressive thing because Auburn had played really good baseball leading up to that. So Coastal's a good team, and obviously they're showing that early in game one here of the College World Series. Oregon State is next up at plus 700. And you got UCLA at plus 1,000, Arizona at plus 1,500, Louisville down at plus 2,000. This is just not a vintage Dan McDonald team like the ones that came up here between 2012 and 2017 or so. It's just not one of those talented teams, the Brendan McKay teams. They were really, really good. They didn't have a lot of success in Omaha, but they were really, really good. This team did a great job in Nashville to win that regional, and because they did that, they were able to host a Super, and they just edged Miami in a really, really good game 3 there in the Super. So a good team, a team that's hot at the right time, but a 15-15 ACC team in Louisville. Then Murray State's the longest shot at plus 4,000. I think the best odds play on the board is probably Oregon State at plus 700. I'm going to talk about Oregon State and Louisville in the second hour. I'm still debating whether or not I'm going to go across the river and go to that game just to watch as a fan, or if I want to stay here and watch the game in the sportsbook and watch golf highlights in the sportsbook and just hang out here at the Ameristar. I haven't decided yet. It's a decision that will be made after the show wraps up. But I think right now I'm leaning towards going to watch that. There's a lot of talent on that field between those two teams. You look at Oregon State with Dax Whitney on the mound. You look at Ava Arquette, who's going to be a top 20 pick. You look at Gavin Turley as well, who's just a stud. He was in the regional 2 years ago as a freshman for Oregon State. Now you fast forward 2 years, and he's their all-time home run leader in that program's history, which has had a lot of really good players over the last 15 years. So I think there's a lot of talent on that team. So if I'm going to take an odds play, it's probably plus 700 with Oregon State. If you look at the odds to advance out of your bracket, you're looking at LSU, according to this, at plus 115. Arkansas, a slight favorite at plus $1.05. And again, those odds will swing massively come game time tomorrow night at 6 o'clock here in Omaha. Incidentally, if you're listening now and you want to get some more coverage tomorrow, I will be right here in this seat outside the ESPN Bet Sportsbook at the Ameristar from 2 to 4, broadcasting live before LSU and Arkansas, and very, very much looking forward to it. Going to get a full guest list, going to get somebody from the Arkansas side of things, hoping to grab a national writer from Baseball America. Kind of my final preview. LSU will also have 2 games to react to that'll have gone final today. This is just an awesome event. It's an awesome time every year. And of course, for us, it's just tuned up a notch when LSU makes it. I think the only time that I'm really a bit sour on the College World Series is if LSU loses in the Super. It just hasn't subsided enough when they crank it back up for Omaha. Last year, it was devastating to me from a fan perspective and from a professional perspective because it's content. LSU lost in the regional, but I had 2 weeks to decompress from the UNC loss. And then they cranked it up in the College World Series, and I was ready to roll. Now, unfortunately, as I've talked about many times, every single game that was played in the College World Series went the opposite way that I wanted it to go. A&M kept winning. Tennessee kept winning. The ACC lost every game against the SEC. Like, it was a disaster from my rooting interest, but I was invested because the scar from LSU losing 2 weeks prior had kind of healed a little bit. When you losing that super to Stony Brook or Coastal, like, ugh, can't sit here and watch this College World Series. But when they make it to the College World Series like they have now, it's just all eyes for me. And the sportsbook starting to buzz here at the Ameristar with the action going. U.S. Open's being played. Big day for Sam Burns today. Phenomenal round for him. And he's going to be very much in the thick of this thing when he wakes up tomorrow. That golf course is brutally hard. He's done and can sit back and watch those guys hack away. And the best in the world are hacking away at Oakmont right now. So lots of great sports action, and we're thrilled to be bringing it to you here from the ESPN Bet Sportsbook in the Ameristar Casino and Hotel. I got a lot to do in hour number 2 and very much looking forward to it. We're going to chat at the top of the hour with Andrew Ellis from Inside Arkansas. I just talked to him, and he's ready to go to talk about these Hogs. I've got a thought on who LSU should start tomorrow. Again, I told you I think it's Cade Anderson, but I have a thought why science might make some sense. And then a preview of tonight's game. Very, very much looking forward to that. So stick with us here on this Friday edition brought to you by Sports Station Friday.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge, we know how important it is to make confident.
Hunt, did you hear me say 10? Yo, Hunt, can you hear me? Hunt, hello. Hello. Hunt. Hunt. Yo, yo, yo.
This is the NBA Finals.
Matherin gonna pull for 3 and hit.
Help you get there. Together, we can look at the big picture and make a strategy to help you reach your goals. Because you can't prepare for the unexpected if you don't know where you're headed. Call your local Edward Jones office to schedule an appointment today. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In Baton Rouge, call Kelly Lestratton. In Prairieville, call David Commander. And in Gonzales, call Dean Freeman.
To Custom Colors Body and Paint, we're excited to have Will Rapp and Ian McKnight on our team. They're continuing the tradition of exceptional service that Billy Rapp and Pete McKnight began back in 1987. Custom Colors, located in the Industrial Plex off C.
Insurance companies have teams of professionals to fight your claim. If you want to know what your case is really worth, I'm Spencer Callahan. I'd like to help.
Healey filing number 16-7970.
Ready to take your brand awareness to new heights?
Experience the power of audio and digital marketing combined with Guaranteed Digital Media.
Our radio ready messages resonate through the airwaves, leaving a lasting impression.
Combine this with digital tactics like retargeting, geofencing, and social media to really boost your reach.
Imagine your radio ad complemented by targeted digital ads, ensuring your brand is seen and heard across multiple platforms.
To learn more, visit 1045ESPN.com and click connect. That's 1045ESPN.com and click connect.
Presented by Google. You can't get enough.
Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN Radio.
Shohei Ohtani goes to the second deck.
The Los Angeles Dodgers, the San Francisco Giants.
It's gone. Home run, Elliot Ramos.
Heated NL West rivals go head-to-head. Coverage of Sunday Night Baseball begins at 6 Eastern, with first pitch at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN.
Truck breaks.
And Antilo Show on Sports.
Hey, get it done. Hey, boys. What are you going to say? Hey, get it done.
If you're Tony McCall, that you say he still has shades of the MVP in him.
Football season is fast approaching. Football. And at Red Six Sports, time to get geared up. So get on out to the Red Six Sports on Essen now and get properly fitted by their professional staff in all the latest styles. Douglas, Wilson, Schutt, Adidas, they have it all. And team pricing is always available. So come in and ask for Ryan, Brian, Cody, or the legend, Mike Powers. They're all here to get you geared up the right way. On Essen Lane, Baton Rouge is Red Six Sports.
Insurance companies have teams of professionals to fight your claim. If you want to know what your case is really worth, I'm Spencer Callahan. I'd like to know.
WNXX Jackson, KNXX Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge.
This is Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. The Indiana Pacers bring a 2-1 series lead into Game 4 of the NBA Finals tonight against the Thunder in Indianapolis. ESPN's Stephen A. Smith believes tonight will tell the story.
Indiana wins this game, there's no way in hell they're losing 3 straight. But if they lose these games, if they lose this Game 4, after what we saw happen with OKC the other night, that's going to be a bad sign for Indiana if you can't win tonight and Oklahoma City comes out and they win tonight. I think the winner of tonight's game wins this series.
Stephen A. Smith on First Take. Game 4 coverage starts at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio, 8 Eastern on ABC. Our Shams Charania reports Nuggets guard Russell Westbrook will not pick up his option for next season. He'll be a free agent at the end of this month. Brewers right-hander Aaron Savali gets his wish to be traded. He goes to the White Sox today. In return, Milwaukee gets first baseman Andrew Vaughn. Second round of the U.S. Open at Oakmont. J.J. Spawn holds the lead at 5 under. He's 2 shots ahead of Sam Burns at Tristan Lawrence.
Your summer drink is here.
So hot.
Why is that?
JJ Spawn 5 under.
Oh, God. I thought there was something wrong with the equipment.
To Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
It also didn't help him that Mike
Baton.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp at the Ameristar, Council Bluffs, Iowa, just across the river from Omaha, Nebraska. 75th playing of the College World Series in Omaha. LSU and Arkansas will be the last 2 teams to take the field right now. Coastal Carolina and Arizona are underway. It's 2-0 Coastal early in that one. Tonight, it'll be Oregon State and Louisville, UCLA and Murray State tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and LSU and Arkansas at 6. I want to talk about things from the Arkansas perspective, so let's go to Andrew Ellis, host of the Bombastic podcast, works for Inside Arkansas, and he's here in Omaha as well. Andrew, thanks for the time. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm enjoying the calm before the storm, I guess you could call it. I'm going to be a nervous wreck about this time tomorrow, but, man, it's great to be here in Omaha. This is where and that's a better stage for tomorrow night for sure.
Everything you just said applies directly to me as well, every single word. So let's talk about it. I guess that you probably just summarized the feeling of the Arkansas fan base, but I am curious. Like, most of the D1 baseball guys picked Arkansas to win it. I personally have picked Arkansas to win it. What's the feeling from the fan base? Is it anxious? Is it traumatized? Is it supremely confident? How are we feeling in Hogville?
You know, things can change very quickly. I'm sure, especially if Arkansas is able to win tomorrow night, there's going to be a lot of pressure. I mean, the dark cloud kind of hanging over this program is Dave Van Horn getting that elusive national championship. Nobody's going to be truly satisfied until it happens. But I got to say, man, if you watch this team and you're kind of around the fan base, around the team this afternoon, we got to go see him practice at South High School. You wouldn't be able to tell if this team's playing such a big, high-pressure situation with the way they're acting. Like, Dave Van Horn around with that kind of nervous energy. They seem relaxed. I don't know if the fan base is necessarily there yet, but when you look at the last couple of years for Arkansas baseball and how it's gone in the postseason, I think there's a relief that, like I said, this you're okay with your season ending. Obviously, you want to win the national title, but nobody's really going to be upset with the season that ends at Charles Schwab Field in Omaha. And so I think there's a lot of relief in the fan base, given that this program has lost in the regional round back-to-back years. I think fans are just excited to be here.
Let's talk about Zach Rude. I got a couple questions about him. One, has the velocity ticked up over the last month?
Absolutely. I mean, look, now this is a guy that, when he was at East Carolina last year, mid-90s fastball was kind of part of the repertoire, part of what we thought we were getting here at Arkansas. And he's, not necessarily a power pitcher because he likes the mixed speed. His changeup might be his best pitch. But every time you kind of forget, there's some power in there. Mostly in that 94, 95 range. We'll touch 96 here and there. But when he faced Andrew Fisher last week in Tennessee, I don't know if he just blacked out and went crazy or not. Touching 99, which you really don't see much. You don't see these power pitchers gain steam down the stretch usually. So there's a little bit of power in that arsenal, but it's weird because when you think about Zach Rude and you watch him pitch, he's a striker. He mixes speed, keeps guys off balance. But that 97, 98 fastball in that tank there. And I think it's definitely made him a pretty intriguing draft prospect, like so many of these other left-handed pitchers in college baseball.
So the emotion that he showed last week, how much of that was Tennessee and how much of that was what he wants to pitch like? And do you think he'll show that much emotion on Saturday night?
I definitely don't know if we're going to see that level of emotion. I mean, him dog cussing the first baseman back to the dugout. I don't know if we'll see that. But Zach Rude's a very competitive guy. Like he's a very left-handed left-hander. And if you watch baseball or around baseball, you know what I mean by that. Lefties are just kind of wired a little bit different. They do things their own way. And he's a guy that's very motivated. I mean, when you're a transfer like him that comes from East Carolina, which is a very good transfer in its own right, you come to Arkansas, you're expecting to pitch on stages like this, teams like LSU. This is what you live for. And I think Zach Rude's a guy that this is not lost on him. Like, he understands the stakes that are involved here. He understands the challenge that's in front of him tomorrow night. And I think he kind of embraces that. But I got to say, we've never really seen anything like that. We've never seen it bubble up. Like, all that stuff I just said applies, but usually you see it from the quiet, professional approach, and he goes about his business like anybody else. I definitely didn't rub me the wrong way, the emotion that he showed. I think Tennessee had a lot to do with it. As we know, Tennessee, they like to play with a little bit of that edge, but it was cool to see that side of Zach Rude to just kind of know it's in there. But I don't think you're going to see that. I think he's going to be very business-like approach. And again, he knows the challenge he's up against with his LSU lineup. He's faced him before, had some success, but he knows how difficult it's going to be, and you got to save all your energy for the task at hand.
If it's very close, I expect to see Gabe Gackle. If Arkansas's got a sizable lead, I kind of expect to see Gabe Gackle put it away. I guess the only way I don't expect to see him is if LSU somehow gets out to a big lead. What has made him better as a reliever that didn't necessarily translate as a starter?
It's kind of bizarre because you watch Gabe Gackle pitch, and if you just look at the stuff, you look at the arsenal, you look at what people are doing. I mean, he fills up the strike zone, mixed speed. Like, he checks all the boxes you would want out of a Friday night starter, out of a weekend arm. It just didn't go that well for him early on. I honestly don't. I actually floated the idea going into the Tennessee series that, hey, maybe Arkansas might want to introduce him to this starting rotation because he's such a valuable arm. And the game 3 spot for Arkansas hasn't necessarily been the most reliable spot, but I think he needed that mentality shift and just kind of that refresher of, hey, go back in there, do what you did as a freshman, get back to doing what you do. And now I truly feel like he's kind of accomplished that and could probably thrive in any role, but I think it was more the mental reset that came with going to the bullpen more than anything else. Because stuff-wise, he's not one of those guys that runs out of gas after 40, 50. In fact, in some of his outings, he's better in his second, third, and fourth innings than he is in the first. And so I don't know if it's just a mental block he needed to get over. He's obviously a very talented kid, still pretty early in his career. I think it was really more about just kind of the mental reshaping and refocusing. But I think Gabe Gackle was back to normal, so to speak. And honestly, when I think back to that series in Baton Rouge, that was a big part of him kind of regaining that edge that he pitches with.
Andrew Ellis is our guest from Inside Arkansas, host of the Bombastic podcast. They're here in Omaha. It'll be LSU and Arkansas tomorrow at 6 o'clock. If the park plays small, which sometimes it does, I know Arkansas can bombs away with anybody. What if the park plays really big? How do you feel about Arkansas's offense if the wind starts blowing in?
I mean, I feel okay with it. You know, one thing about this Arkansas team is they set the program record for home runs, but they're also top in the SEC in runners in scoring position, top in the SEC in scoring that runner from third with less than 2 outs. Like, they've been very good situationally. They don't play small ball. They don't do all this weird stealing bases, hit and run, and all that stuff. They play big boy baseball, but they've shown an ability to kind of scratch out runs however they need. And so I think they're equipped to thrive in this situation. They're not necessarily as dependent on the home run ball as they maybe have been in years past. But the issue here really is that I look over at this LSU lineup and I see a lot of those same characteristics. A team that can certainly hit the ball out of the park with anyone in the country, but I think 1 through 9 you see a lot of different skill sets with both of these lineups. Like, I don't think there should be any question about whether or not Arkansas or LSU can thrive in this circumstances, no matter where they're playing. I think both teams are kind of equipped to score in whatever the circumstances are, but I think that's kind of a big question. And Hog fans think it's a unique issue to them of like, oh, we get in the postseason and we don't get hits with runners in scoring position and our season ends. It's like, yeah, it's kind of how it works at baseball at every level. Your season ends when you don't get those huge hits with runners in scoring position. I think both of these teams, both of these programs are very capable. And these coaches and these players, they understand the task at hand. Like, they know the dimensions. They know how the wind's playing. They know what the job is. It's just easier to go out there and get that job done against really good pitchers, which both of these teams are going to be tomorrow.
Tell me what Chuck Davalon means to this lineup.
I mean, it's just the energy with him, man. Like, he sets the tone at the top. I mean, you always want that leadoff guy, to be your get-on-base guy. He does all of that. He's also shown a lot more power than maybe Hog fans expected. But I think what sets this Razorback team apart from maybe some years past, there's just a personality and an edge that they play with. And, I mean, Dave Van Horn's never going to be confused for Tony Vitello in that regard, where his teams really have this, this bombastic energy about them where they're in your face and, talking their mess or anything like that. But I think Chuck Davalon is a very important lightning rod personality. And then when you look at the production he's put together, I mean, he's put together an All-American type season. You'll always take that out of your leadoff guy. But another thing that I think is big for him in this particular matchup, he hits better against lefties than he does against righties, which is kind of bizarre for a left-handed outfielder, left-handed hitting outfielder. Matter of fact, we saw Liam Doyle last week. Tennessee opted to intentionally walk Charles Davalon, a left-handed hitter, with Liam Doyle on the mound in order to bring up Fahibo Aloy with the bases loaded. I think that tells you all you need to know about Charles Davalon and what he means to this Razorback lineup and sort of how other teams view him. I imagine this Jay Johnson coaching staff and the rest of this LSU squad, they're probably viewing him that same way as you can't overlook him, just like you can't anyone with this Arkansas lineup.
I've poured over this significant amount, and I can't find a huge weakness with Arkansas. Maybe a little bit of swing and miss, but that's nitpicking. Is there something that you think could spell the end of their season over the next week that could crop up?
What's funny is that, you watch Zach Root pitch last week, and we talk about him as a prospect. We talk about him, and you see the all-SEC contributor, although I got to admit, since I'm talking to the LSU guys, Anthony Einstein got absolutely robbed for Team All-SEC. Like, that was a little bit crazy, but still, like, the fact that he's in that conversation tells you how Zach Root, what people view him as. But all along, this Razorback team has been able to piece together weekend despite not getting front-level starting pitching. Like, I think a lot of Hog fans look at LSU and look at the stability that Anderson and Einstein have brought to this LSU pitching staff. I've kind of been missing that up until the last month or so. Really, with that outing in Baton Rouge that Zach Root had, I feel like kind of kick-started his season, got him back on track and pitching the way he has. Of course, Gage Wood coming back from injury has been a huge part of that. But weirdly enough, starting pitching has kind of been the missing piece that Arkansas has been winning in spite of. So I think the fact that now Arkansas is getting some good starts from Zach Root, Gage Wood, who got roughed up and pitched a lot better lately, gives them another big-time prospect on the mound. It sort of completes. So I don't think there's a clear. But again, I think you look at both squads. If either team loses tomorrow, it's not going to be because they have this glaring weakness, incapable of getting the job done. I think it's really just you're up against a really good team, and one of them has to lose.
It'll be a heck of an environment. Should be a heck of a game tomorrow night, 6 o'clock at Charles Schwab. And Mike punches that it's not the last time LSU and Arkansas will lock hands here in Omaha. Andrew, enjoy your time here, and we'll catch up down the road. Thanks, man.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you guys. Hope you have a good time at the sports book. Stay out of trouble.
We'll do our very best. That's Andrew Ellis, bombastic podcast. He works with Inside Arkansas. They do a great job covering the Hogs. I've been listening to him all some Arkansas perspective, so appreciate him giving us a little bit of time here on this Friday. We're brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp. Still a lot to do over the last 45 minutes. When we come back, are we sure Kate Anderson is the guy tomorrow night in the opener? I'll give some thoughts on both sides.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every car that is on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Look, you're talking about safety. You're going to get in one of the safest cars on the road if you choose a Genesis. Every single model in the line, all of them, got the IHA top safety picks. Some got top safety picks plus. So if safety is the most important thing to you when you're purchasing a vehicle, check out Genesis of Baton Rouge. I promise you, they've got you covered. They've also got an incredible line of vehicles. They're sleek, stylish, elegant, drive wonderfully well, and they got tons of bells and whistles. Plus, every new purchase comes with a 10-year, 100th warranty and 3 years of complimentary service. And that can be the LA service if you'd like. Go by and see them. Airline Highway at Pico. They're across from Women's Hospital. Or check out the entire inventory online at Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
Fire up the grill Father's Day. Rouse's has 80% lean ground beef.
Hey, you there?
You got? Yeah.
So you heard me say 30, but what did you not hear me say 10 because of the music?
I don't know if it was the music or I'm not sure. I was kind of listening for it and never heard it, so I couldn't tell you why.
Okay, I just didn't know if the music started going too loud, then I'll just not do that.
Yeah, I mean the music helps because I kind of know we're getting close, but you are better. So I don't know why I didn't hear the 10, but I did.
No, it's all right. Yeah, I just didn't know if there was something that needed to. I'll try to just not start it. I'll try to not start the music super loud until I say 10.
Okay, cool.
If so, I'm at your service because that's what representation is all about. Cutting through red tape to get results. If you're having issues with a federal agency, please reach out to me at letlo.house.gov.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Do you plan to travel, work part-time, or move somewhere warmer when you retire? At Edward Jones, we understand that no two retirement paths are the same. Contact your local financial advisor today.
In Baton Rouge, call Katherine Johnson. In Zachary, call Daniel Gomez. And in Central, call Lance Mouillon.
Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Lewis Mechanical, no plumbing job's too big or too small, and we have the best technicians around. Lewis Mechanical specializes in both commercial and residential plumbing repairs.
Lewis Mechanical, keeping plumbing humming.
Supreme service, supreme savings, and supreme selection are all at Supreme Chevrolet in Gonzales. From the truck that drives our region to Chevy Silverado to Traverse, Trax, Trailblazer, and more, Supreme Chevy has the vehicle you're looking for at the price you want, all with the exceptional service you deserve. Visit us today or shop 24/7 at SupremeChevy.com. Together, let's drive to Supreme Chevrolet in Gonzales.
Hey, it's Musso, inviting you to join me for another season of Musso at the Box presented by Gauntlet Light Installers. We've got you covered daily on LSU baseball. Go to YouTube or your favorite podcast app, search Musso at the Box, and get subscribed today.
Looking for a roll-up dumpster? At Trash Rangers, we have 3 sizes, and we offer dependable service, personalized attention, transparent pricing, and we're community-focused at TrashRangers.com.
For a tax deduction, consider donating your car, boat, or RV to St. Vincent de Paul. svdpvr.org.
Live from Omaha, powered by Our Lady of the Lake, Championship Health for everybody, and presented by GoFlow Ivy Spa and Yingling Flight. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Got a text message that warmed my heart to its core. One of my buddies was coming up to Omaha for the first time, said, "Hey, I know you've been, like, give me a couple things that I need to do." I said, "Hey, you need to go have lunch at Barrett's. Like, go check out Barrett's. It's kind of off the path now that the the stage is downtown instead of out at Rosenblatt. But it's the LSU bar from the 90s, and those that are listening are probably familiar with Barrett's. So he never heard of it. So he got off the plane with the in-laws. They went straight to Barrett's, like with their luggage, and he said that the whole restaurant was full of folks with their luggage that stopped there first. The entire staff was in Go purple and gold T-shirts, and the place was popping, and that just warmed my heart. He said that he loved it. Great call, and that's just something that is unique to LSU. I say this all the time, like. Unique is an overword used in our language, kind of like literally. Like literally means that there's not any embellishment. It is the literal truth. And people often say literally and then say something that's exaggeration or hyperbole. And unique gets overused all the time, which is nitpicking on my part and really a loser thing for me to notice. But people say very unique, all kind of unique and sort of unique. And it's unique or it's not. And LSU has such a great relationship with this town over 40, coming 20 times that creating an environment like that, even though the tournament has moved, LSU fans still travel there as kind of a pilgrimage to see it. And look, I don't mean this disparaging at all, but it's not a special place, not a huge place, not a lot of bells and whistles or an inordinate amount of TVs or incredible signature drinks or anything. It's just where LSU fans go, and they'll give you a good sandwich, and they'll give you a cold beer, and my deal was when me and my dad came 2 years ago in 2023. We went to lunch there when we landed on Saturday, and I walked in and I knew 7 people that were right when I walked in the door, and I didn't know any of them were going to be there. But that's just the beauty of you're halfway across the country and people show up there, and there are a lot of cool things about LSU's relationship with this place. And one of them is certainly Barrett's, and I was just so happy that one of my buddies enjoyed his time there, and now has that as a reference point of, yeah, when I went to Omaha, I went to Barrett's, and this guy was there, and there was and like he said, there was like half the restaurant had people that had their luggage, and I expect there to be a lot of purple and gold in Omaha tomorrow and moving forward, and we'll certainly be here until LSU is done. We're at the Ameristar in Council Bluffs, just outside the sportsbook. Got the College World Series on a bunch of TVs. Got the U.S. Open on as well. Big day for Sam Burns, who is going to be within shot of the lead or so when he wakes up tomorrow morning, which is awesome for the Shreveport boy at Oakmont. But I want to talk LSU and Arkansas tomorrow, and I want to be very clear to start this segment. Like, my opinion, based on a lot of different things, is that Cade Anderson will start for LSU tomorrow. I don't have real reason to doubt that based on the fact that he went to the press conference. It was him and Jared Jones yesterday with Jay Johnson. Cade was asked about facing Arkansas and answered the question. Like, that Jay's not gonna give that information, even though Dave Van Horn did say that Zach Ruth's going to start. But I believe Cade Anderson's going to start for LSU. So that's number one, and I'm going to preview him against Arkansas tomorrow when we're on from 2 to 4. But let's just think about this from a different perspective briefly here. Arkansas, as you just heard Andrew Ellis, crushes left-handed pitching. If you look at them from a statistical standpoint, and I'm getting these stats from the crew at D1 Baseball, Aaron Fitz got a great piece up previewing the entire field. And you look at Arkansas against right-handed hitters, and their OPS is good. They're 16th in the country, but they are 4th in the nation in OPS against left-handed pitching. And it starts at the top with Chuck Davalon, who's their leadoff hitter, who's left-handed and crushes left-handed hitters. The Eloy brothers are great hitters. They are both right-handed hitters who crush lefties. And then you've got some other guys like Ryder Helfrich, who's a right-handed slugger. Brett Iredale hits right-handed and can slug for them. They really hit left-handed well. And when they saw Cade Anderson a month ago, they knocked him around a little bit. Now, Cade was tough as nails in that game. And he pitched 5 2/3 innings. He gave up the 7 hits, but only 3 runs. And that's the game he left late at night. They started super late on Friday night that week. He had that wrist issue. And I remember sitting in the press box going, I cannot believe Cade Anderson's season might be over. Because anytime your ace walks off the mound with the trainer and has to come out of a game, like, that could be a disaster. And it wasn't. It was just a little wrist cramp type deal, and he was fine the next week. But he battled. He struck out 10. Which is one of Arkansas's Achilles heels. They will strike out, and if Cade Anderson pitches tomorrow, he's going to have to get some strikeouts because Arkansas is going to get hits, and they're going to get guys on base. But they mash lefties. They're not as good against right-handers. And when you look at them against right-handers, they strike out a ton against right-handed hitters. 223rd in fewest strikeouts when it comes to facing righties in terms of percentage. Lefties, they're not great, 163rd, but you're talking about 60 spots there. And then you look at what Anthony Ianson did to this team. And when I look back, that may be the best game LSU played all year was that second game against Arkansas. Ianson threw 6 shutout innings. He only allowed 5 hits. He struck out 11 and walked 1. So he had a much better outing than Cade Anderson against this lineup that hits left-handers better than right-handers. So is there a reason to go with Ianson in this spot? Now, I understand that there are different variables there because Ianson pitched twice in the regional, and then came back and pitched last Sunday, and it's only Saturday tomorrow, and wasn't at his best on Sunday, and that's a big load for a guy in his draft year, really for anybody. So maybe he's not ready to go. But the other piece to this is, and we know this to be true, Jay Johnson started Anthony Ianson on Friday of the region because he felt like he had a much better chance to bounce back and help on Monday than Cade Anderson did. He's a better bounce back guy. They do all those tests. They check the strength and the recovery and all that kind of stuff after starts, and they felt like he was going to bounce back a little bit better. And if you'll recall, your ace may have to pitch you, or no, well, you shouldn't say your ace. Your first starter on Saturday may have to pitch you to the championship game on Thursday. That's what Paul Skeens had to do. He took the ball on Saturday of the 2023 College World Series against Tennessee to open it, and then fast forward 4 days later, he took the ball against Rhett Lauder on Thursday in the Tommy White home run game to get you into the championship series. That's if you get to a decisive game in the bracket, a 7th game of the bracket, that's on Thursday, and your ace may have to bounce back. If you know that Ianson bounces back better than Anderson, maybe that's another reason to start him on Saturday against this Arkansas team. If everybody was on equal rest and you were just looking at it from that perspective, like, maybe there's something to think about with starting Anthony Ianson in this game. I just don't think Jay Johnson's going to do that because of rest, because of what Anderson's meant to this team. It's not like Anderson got tattooed, and it's not like Arkansas literally can't hit lefties and is best in the country against righties. They're a good lineup against everybody. But I think there are some factors on the outside looking in that suggest that Ianson might be a better matchup, but they're not on equal rest. So, again, to round the conversation out the same way I started it, like, I think Anderson's going to get the ball, but I can make a case the other way. The other part of this is LSU's bullpen is going to have to come up huge this entire week, and this game against Arkansas. I would expect that it's going to be a pretty close game. Most games in Omaha are pretty close because most of the time teams can't score 9, 10, 11 runs in that ballpark because it's just tough to do. So by the nature of lower scores, you automatically have closer games. And so LSU's bullpen has got to be on its game. And if you know that Arkansas struggles a little bit more against right-handers, like, I just start to think about Chase Shores. And I wrote this on LouisianaSports.net. If you want some more content, I've got 2 stories up today, one talking about the way the stadium plays and the other one with 3 players to watch for LSU in this College World Series, and one of them is Chase Shores. Because it's hard for me to imagine a scenario where LSU gets through this thing and Shores doesn't get monster outs. And I don't know in what capacity that is. This tournament has a way of creating different circumstances that pitchers have competed in all year. And I can bring up the names, and you'll remember the instances. Like, you remember Nate Ackenhausen against Tennessee throwing 6 shutout innings. You remember Griffin Herring coming in against Wake Forest and absolutely shutting them down in extended relief. You remember years prior to that in 2017, you had to turn to Caleb Gilbert because Eric Walker had gotten hurt, and you had gotten to the losers bracket. And like, hey, Caleb Gilbert, here's the best team in college baseball, Oregon State, who's lost like 4 games all year. You got to go beat them. And he stepped up with a little bit of help from the umpire, mind you, but he did step up and kept throwing that ball 8 inches off the outside corner and ringing up Oregon State. And that's not something you had seen from him all year, that role, that type of ability. And I don't expect Cooper Williams to start a game and go 6 innings. I don't expect William Schmidt to get the call here. I don't know if they're going to go back to Zach Cowan as a starter, but Payson Evans is probably going to have to start a game. And Chase Shores may have to start a game if you get in the loser's bracket. But maybe it's not starting a game. Maybe it's getting the last 3 outs tomorrow night in a 1-run game. It's hard for me, having been in Alec Box Stadium on Sunday in Game 2 of the Super and watched Chase Shores in person throw the baseball like that and look at a guy who's throwing 101 miles an hour and commanding it and breaking off a slider for a called strike 3 and seeing that as the last impression you've got before you get on the plane to go to Omaha, like, that's a guy the staff is going to have confidence in. And so for me, maybe it's the last 3 outs tomorrow, which would be absolutely massive. Maybe he's got to start a game on Wednesday because you're out of dudes. And you just need a guy that can go out there and give you 4 or 5 innings, and Shores can do that. He just scuffled as a starter, and they changed his role. He said when we talked to the players on Tuesday, I guess that was, like, I'll throw until my arm falls off. It's Omaha. We got to get it done. No, they're not going to do that. But the roles can be interesting when you get into a day after day after day situation in Omaha. And so Chase Shores to me is going to be massive for LSU in this weekend. I'll talk on tomorrow's show about the 2 other guys that I've highlighted. I'll tell you right now, they're Cade Anderson and Derek Curiel. And the stats when LSU wins for Curiel and when they lose are jaw-dropping. And wins for LSU, Derek Curiel is hitting 398 on the year. In losses, he's hitting right at 200. So it's a 200-point difference in wins and losses when Derek Curiel's going. And if you watched the Super Regional last week, that guy was going. So hopefully Derek Curiel is in the lineup at the top tomorrow, even against the lefty en route. So I'm in the 7 hole or the 6 hole last week against left-hander and Kern. Hopefully he's at the top of the lineup and gets things moving in the game tomorrow. All right, we're fired up to be here at the Ameristar in Council Bluffs. If you're coming up to Omaha for the College World Series and are looking for something to do, there's some off days, especially if LSU stays in the winner's bracket. If you're looking for something to do in the evening, it's right across the river. I mean, I can see the stadium from just outside here. I got an Uber yesterday from the Council Bluffs, from the Ameristar here to the stadium. It was $9 to tell you how far it is. It's not very far at all. So if you're coming up and looking for something to do, you want to go to the sports book, which is popping right now, or want to go try your hand on the casino floor, you can do that as well here at the Ameristar in Council Bluffs. If you're at home and you're just locking us in to get ready to watch from Louisiana, lock us in as long as LSU's here from 1 to 3 on weekdays, and tomorrow for our pregame show starting at 2 o'clock until 4. We got 30 minutes to go, though. We'll come back with a little bit more. This is a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Majestic Metals is located in Sorrento with over 60 years experience in the pre-engineered metal building industry. Majestic Metals is the leading metal roofing manufacturer with high-quality products, superior customer service, and a fast turnaround. We offer both commercial and residential roofing, including a standing seam panel in a variety of colors with a 40-year paint warranty. A metal roof can add value to your home and is energy efficient. Call Majestic Metals at 225-675-3800 and talk to our knowledgeable sales staff for all your commercial and residential needs. Visit us on the web at majesticmetalsinc.com.
Attention veterans in Baton Rouge. Operation Homefront's Transitional Homes for Veterans program is offering rent-free homes right here in our area, plus financial counseling to help you build savings and secure your future. If you've served honorably and are within 1 to 3 years of discharge, don't miss this opportunity. Apply now at OperationHomefront.org. That's OperationHomefront.org. And take the next step toward home ownership. And thank you for your service.
Hey, do you love beef? I mean premium Angus beef. Sagrera Farm sells the whole sides and quarters straight from the farm, ready to fill your freezer with tender, flavorful ribeyes, fillets, strips, brisket, ground beef, and a lot more. I want to introduce you to Louisiana's own Sean Sagrera of Sagrera Farms, a hidden gem just 30 minutes north of Baton Rouge. What's Sean's secret? Mating genetically superior Angus cattle and then ensuring that every day in the life of his cattle is a great one. Happy, healthy cattle, finished on grain, dry-aged, 45 days, creates consistent and predictable, flavorful beef. When you take a bite of Sagrera Farms beef, you'll know that this is not some mass-produced afterthought. So if you want the best, and I mean the best in Angus beef, go online to sagrerafarms.com, or better yet, call Sean right now at 225-719-1723. Sagrera Farms.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin. Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code TRUNK for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code TRUNK for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code TRUNK.
Save even more this June at Shawbills Tire and Auto Service. Now through June 30th, get up to $100 back when you use your Shawbills credit card on service. That's $10 back for every $100 you spend. Plus, cardholders always get 10% off qualifying purchases, no promo needed. Schedule your service today at ShawBillsTire.com. Shawbills, we keep you rolling. Offer valid June 1st through June 30th. Maximum rebate $100. Excludes tire purchases. Subject to credit approval. Void where prohibited.
Are you experiencing fatigue, low libido, and muscle loss? Rejuvame specializes in testosterone therapy. You'll meet in person with a nurse practitioner who will make recommendations based on your lab work. Testosterone therapy at RejuvameMedical.com. That's REG.
15. Gotcha.
Medical.com.
Do you plan to travel, work part-time, or move somewhere warmer when you retire? At Edward Jones, we understand that no two retirement paths are the same. Contact your local financial advisor today.
In Baton Rouge, call Tyler Juneau. In New Roads, call Dean Martin. And in Gonzales, call Gene Fremo.
Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Live from Omaha, powered by Our Lady of the Lake, Championship Health for everybody, and presented by GoFlow Ivy Spa and Yingling Flight. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Friday shows brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Get on by, get you a big old po' boy for lunch or dinner. Jumbo Gulf shrimp, crispy fried catfish, shoestring fries, honey butter rolls, beignet bites, baked potatoes with crawfish etouffee on top. They got it all over there at Corks. Great partners here with the Hunt Palmer Show, and appreciate them for making our Friday shows possible each and every week. Great game going on at Charles Schwab Field right now. Arizona and Coastal tied at 2 over there. Coastal took a 2-0 lead. Arizona has stormed back to tie things. I'm looking at the inning right there. It's the bottom of the 5th inning over there at Charles Schwab Field, and the crowd looks excellent, as you would imagine. The city of Omaha just really, really turns out for this thing, and I'm sure they're going to be packing it today and tonight for games that have probably smaller fan bases. I think that LSU and Arkansas are going to buy a lot of the tickets for tomorrow night. I would expect a nearly even crowd between those two. If you didn't realize, Northwest Arkansas, where Fayetteville is only about a 6.5-hour drive from Omaha. So that's like LSU fans driving to Birmingham to get to driving to Hoover to get to Omaha. If that was the case, you'd see maybe double the pack of LSU fans, but it's a tough trip from South Louisiana. If you're making it right now, shout out to you. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of folks coming for the 10th time. A lot of folks coming for the first time, and it's always a very, very special place. Hopefully, LSU can extend that stay. I'll tell you, if LSU wins on Saturday, I'll do my show right here where I'm sitting on Monday as usual. If LSU loses on Saturday night, they will play at 1 o'clock on Monday. I'll be at the ballpark covering the game for LouisianaSports.net. I think Taylor Sharp will probably sit in, give you some updates on the game, probably talk a lot of on Monday, and then we'll just kind of play it by ear from there. The games are always every day at 1 and 6. If LSU plays the 1 o'clock game, I'm going to go cover it at the stadium, and Taylor will take the reins from the studio. If they play at 6, you'll catch me right here. The good news is if you stay in the winner's bracket, you're always at 6. So hopefully LSU does a lot of that. Tigers and Hogs tomorrow at 6 o'clock. We certainly talked a lot about it. I want to mention tonight's game, though. Louisville and Oregon State will play at 6 o'clock tonight. Oregon State, if you're that kind of thing, is a minus 220 favorite. Louisville's catching plus $1.63 if you'd like to take the Cardinals. This is a pitching matchup that is going to be really fun to watch from a stuff perspective. I know a lot of you are knocking off work. You're gonna take in day one of the College World Series tonight at home, kind of preparing you for LSU. You get to watch some baseball stress-free, which will not be the case tomorrow night. I'll just let you know, these two arms are dudes. Patrick Forbes from Louisville, his numbers are not going to wow you from an ERA perspective. In the ACC, his ERA was 7.02, okay? So that's not very good over the course of an ACC season. But he does have 107 strikeouts in 66 innings. He will throw 98, 99 miles an hour. It's sinking, it's running. It is some real right-handed stuff from Patrick Forbes. He walks too many guys, and that's something that the professional organization that drafts him is going to try to clean up. He has the ability on a given day to really lock teams up. Now, Oregon State's going to probably go with Dax Whitney. I haven't seen their lineup. He's been their ace, and Dax Whitney was a real draft risk for them coming into the season. He's right-handed. He's a freshman, and he has real dude stuff. I mean, I was curious if Oregon State with no conference was still going to be able to reel in dudes like this, because make no mistake, they've had real dudes in that program for a long time. Even obviously when Pat Casey was there, but beyond Pat Casey, they've had real dudes. You just had one of the best players in the country, Travis Bizana, get picked first in the draft out of Oregon State. So they still got dudes, and Dax Whitney's one of them. And he's going to be something to watch tonight. And those two dudes are going to be running fastballs up there at 97, and I think it's going to be difficult for those teams to square the ball up a lot. Now, if the walks become an issue because the freshman's on a big stage in Omaha or Forbes just walks folks because that's what he does, that's when you can make teams pay for sure. But it's going to be a real showdown of quality starting pitching tonight in Omaha in terms of stuff, and I'm excited to watch. Excited to watch that. If you made me bet it, I'd probably take Louisville, quite honestly, catching $1.63 and see if Forbes can have his control in this game. But should be a good one tonight from Omaha. The game tomorrow at 1 o'clock is one that I'll briefly touch on as well. I got a pretty good handle on these two teams. And I think Murray State's going to score tomorrow because I don't trust UCLA's pitching really at all. If you were listening back on Wednesday before I hopped on a plane up here to Omaha, I talked about UCLA's starting pitching. And it is pedestrian statistically and stuff-wise. You're talking about a 1-2 punch that went out there in regional format against a 4 seed and then a 2 seed. They played Fresno State and Arizona State. And their two starting pitchers did not record a strikeout. Like, that is mind-blowing to me that you could send two guys out there. This is number 15 national seed. That you could send two guys out who don't strike anybody out in 2 outings. Like, it blows my mind. And then your ace for the season has a batting average against of 296, but he's 10-1. None of that really adds up, other than to say that, yeah, you throw it up to the plate, you let him hit it, and UCLA might have the best defense in the country. Like, Arkansas statistically is the best defense in the country, but UCLA is their shortstop, Rock Chalowski, is probably the best player here. And I just feel like that recipe of stuff from the UCLA starting pitcher and Murray State's offense, the way it's gone for the last 3 weeks, conference tournament, Oxford and Raleigh, Durham, I guess I should say, I think they're going to score. The question is UCLA going to score more because Murray State doesn't have any pitching, like none whatsoever. This is not a UCLA team that is inept offensively like the one that won the national championship was. They came up here, didn't hit a home run. I think they hit 212 for the whole tournament in 2013. That drives LSU nuts because they beat LSU in the first game that year. But that team couldn't hit it all. They had really good pitching, starting with Plutko, and they just got through it because nobody could score with the dead bats and the huge ballpark and the wind blowing in. It's not designed like that. If you were listening to Joe Healey talk to me a little bit earlier in the first hour, he was talking about this UCLA team and what he thinks of them. They're better than that offensively. I just don't know if I like their starting staff. Their bullpen's been good, and Murray State's going to try to get it. It would not shock me to see Murray State win that game. Now, here's the deal, and this will be a lot of what I do on tomorrow's show. If Murray State wins at 1 o'clock tomorrow because their offense does shine through against what I would think to be a mediocre UCLA starting staff, you're talking about the winner of LSU and Arkansas having a chance to throw either Gage Wood or Anthony Williamson at Murray State to take control of that side of the bracket. That is as advantageous a spot as you could have possibly dreamed up in January, like as you could possibly. Now, it doesn't mean that you're done because the loser of LSU Arkansas tomorrow night is not done. They still got plenty of talented arms and a really good lineup, and they can come through. LSU's doing it. Jay Johnson came through the loser bracket against Arizona. There's a reason why only 4 times in the last 45 years, 4 times in the last 45 years, a team has lost its first game in the College World Series and then gone on to win the national championship. It just doesn't happen because when you lose the first game, you've got to walk a high wire until Thursday. And generally speaking, when you try to walk a high wire until Thursday, you're going to fall off. So it's hard to overstate just how big this game is tomorrow. I think there are a lot of LSU fans that are saying, hey, you got to beat Arkansas at some point. You might as well throw Cade Anderson at him in the first game and get it out of the way. There are some that say, I wish Arkansas was on the other side of the bracket. Y'all know where I fall in that. I wish the Hawks were elsewhere. I'd rather play Murray State. I'd rather play Arizona today. But you get Arkansas. So we'll see what that looks like tomorrow night in front of an incredible crowd in Charles Schwab Field. It's going to be an awesome College World Series. I talked about this on Wednesday. I love the diversity of the field. There are different conferences. There's nobody here that was here last year. There are teams in different circumstances. There's a Cinderella. There's teams that are trying to win their second or third national championship of the last 25 years. That includes Coastal. That includes Arizona. That includes Oregon State. That includes LSU. You got Arkansas trying to climb the mountain for the first time. It's just dripping with storylines, and the week and a half is going to be awesome. I just certainly hope that LSU is part of it for a longer time rather than a shortened time, but we got to get things started tomorrow at 6 o'clock. I've got one segment left to do here on this Friday. Hope you'll come back with us and do that, and then we'll do so for AFR. You're listening to a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Jonathan Carbo and his team, phenomenal to work with in the insurance game. I know insurance is not the most fun thing to talk about. I know if you're a business owner, when I say the word insurance, you bristle because every year that premium is due and you feel like it's getting more and more expensive. You don't even like having the conversation. I get it. But I also understand that insurance is important. And if something happens that you can't forecast, whether it's a car wreck, cyber attack, workers' comp suit, whether it's a hurricane, it's happened. If you don't have the proper coverage because you cut corners to make sure that your premium is lower, you're going to pay the premium and then you're going to pay for the loss. And you just don't want that double win. Make sure your coverage is right. And Jonathan Carbo and the team at the Highland Insurance specialize in that. If you want to call and say, hey, save me 25%, I'll save you the call. You don't need to make it. They're not magic. But they can make sure that your insurance program reads properly and responds properly. And that is an important step. If you're a business owner, if you're a CFO, if you're a risk manager, whatever the case may be, call Jonathan Carver in the Highland Insurance Group. Check them out online at HighlandIG.com and make sure your insurance program is correct. It's the Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my...
Hold on. All right, go ahead.
Hey, it's Hunt. There will be a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. If LSU beats Arkansas, I'll be in the chair from Council Bluffs at the Ameristar. If the Tigers lose, you'll get Taylor Sharp talking a little bit of football as the Tigers play. Either way, join us 3 weekdays, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right.
Hundreds of 5-star reviews. We know there are a lot of roofing companies, but there's only one Pelican Roofing in Baton Rouge and Lafayette and the surrounding areas. They even offer 0% financing for those who qualify.
Call for your free estimate at 225-629-1788 or visit pelicanroof.com.
Maybe you've heard that word of mouth is the best advertising.
At Guaranteed Media, we agree.
We have the biggest mouths in town.
4 local radio stations featuring influencers from Baton Rouge.
Local radio speaks to local people.
And our stations have the audience you need.
Our marketing executives will...
Hey, Hunt, it was too long. You did, it was like 18 seconds. So
Okay.
Give me a second. I'll get you on again.
Okay.
All right, you're good.
Hey, it's Hunt. Join us for Monday's edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. If the Tigers win Saturday, I'm
Wait,
here
never
for the
mind.
Ameristar.
Start over. All right, you're good to go.
Hey, it's Hunt. Join us for a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. If the Tigers win Saturday, Hunt Palmer from the Ameristar and Council Bluffs. If they lose, Taylor Sharp talking football. It's the Hunt Palmer Show 1 to 3 weekdays. Join us on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge. I can't hear anything back.
All right, yeah, no, I was just telling you. I was going to say that's good.
Okay.
Pickup, commercial pickup, and roll off dumpsters today.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
121-1674. Offices in Baton Rouge.
Live from Omaha, powered by Our Lady of the Lake, Championship Health for everybody, and presented by GoFlow Ivy Spa and Yingling Flight. This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried and Shrimp.
Wrapping things up, Friday edition brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. We're here at the Ameristar Casino and Hotel in the Sportsbook, ESPN Sportsbook here, just across the river from Omaha. College World Series fired up. Game 1 between Arizona and Coastal is now on the top of the 6th. The Chanticleers lead Arizona 3-2 as, again, they play in the top of the 6th tonight. The nightcap will be Louisville and Oregon State. Tomorrow, 1 o'clock, you can catch the UCLA Bruins and the Murray State Racers. Then I'll be on at 2 o'clock from 2 to 4. I'll be right here at the ESPN in the Ameristar pregame show. You can catch that on ESPN as well as Eagle. It'll be a simulcast tomorrow for the pregame show from 2 to 4. Then I'm going to pack everything up and zip across the river. It'll be me, Chris Blair, and Bill Franquez on the call in Arkansas. That is going to be absolutely a dream to come true for me. Can't wait to get the broadcast booth to do the color for an LSU College World Series game. Hope you'll join us for that. Pre-game will hit the air at 30 over on Eagle 98.1, our sister station. So should be an awesome Saturday. We'll see if the Tigers can get it done. We've only got one order of business left, as of course, take it or leave it.
Leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it. Shout out to Flight by Yingling. Got a couple of them right here on the old table, and you want to have one on this Friday as well. The perfect summer drink and beer, whether you're tailgating, whether you're watching the Tigers, whether you're mowing the grass at the pool, on the golf course. It is Flight by Yingling. I want to give a big shout out to Brian Corzine, chain manager over at Crescent Crown. Thanks for pushing those Yingling brands every single day. It's awesome stuff, and they bring you take it or leave it every single day. Beck, what do we got?
All righty, first one here. Oakmont is showing its teeth today. I know I said yesterday that it may not actually be as bad as some people were expecting, but it was tough. And right now it's looking like the cut is going to sit at 6 over, which would be pretty tough. But the winning score at Oakmont will be above 4 under. Take it or leave it.
Nobody's getting to 4 under and staying there, so I will take above that if you're going worse, below that if you're
leave it alone.
Just give me a leave it there. I think it's going to be carnage for the weekend. They're going to get that thing baked out, and if they can put the pins wherever they want and that rough continues to grow up, I mean, it's just making a lot of these pros look very, very foolish. Beck, the question I want to ask you is, do you think you would have fun playing that golf course from the U.S. Open tees this week, or are you in the camp that goes, I don't want any part of that, I'll just let the pros do it?
I wouldn't want to play from the U.S. Open tees just because there would be probably holes where I can't even literally reach the fairway. But I would like to play maybe a couple of tees up where it's maybe like 7,000 or like 1,600 yards. I would do it from there, with everything else still the same, the rough, the greens, everything. I would do that. But from 7,500, like I literally just wouldn't be able to play. So if I could do a few tees up, I would do it. And I think it would be awesome.
I had a buddy that said he's an avid golfer, and he just I just don't think that would be any fun at all. And I was like, I would pay to go do it. I would love to see how awful it would be when you make some of these guys look as bad as it's looked. Like I just want to see what that is like, because that's something I've just never experienced. I can go play Pebble Beach with a credit card. I can't get on Oakmont with the rough 5 inches and the greens rolling 16 on the stump. Like that's a fantasy land for me.
All right, last one here. The over/under for LSU Jello shots for Omaha this week, 50,000. Take it or leave it.
What'd they get to last time?
Like 60, I think.
I think that's right. I'll go under, and here's why. I'll leave it because I think that you had the 88 by Gordon McKernan. You had the Todd Graves big order, and I don't know if they're going to do that again. They wanted to set a record that was just like nobody was going to touch, and they basically did that. This time around, I've talked about this a lot. I don't know if you can recreate 2023. It was the longest Omaha drought that LSU had in 30 years. And you had 2 generational players, and that term is used way too often, but that's it. You don't have a Paul Skeens every 15 years, 20 years. You don't have a Dylan Cruz every 20 years. Like, it's just that is true. And you had both of them on that team, and you combine all of that together, the star power starving for Omaha, and that's how you get that ridiculous off and LSU. So I don't think you're going to get that record to be touched this weekend. I don't think you're going to get all that close. Plus, even there is a chance LSU just plays for like 3 days. And if that's the case, then, well, you're never going to get that high. So I will take the under for 2 reasons there. That all we got, Beck?
All right, that's it.
All right. I guess that's just about it for me here from the Ameristar Council Bluffs. Again, I want to thank them so much for being here. And I'm here for sure I may not be on Monday if LSU wins. If LSU loses on Saturday night, I will not be here on Monday. But then I will be here on Tuesday, I think, if win or lose. As long as LSU's here, I will be here at the Ameristar in Council Bluffs. Big shout out to the folks over at Cork. If you missed any of the show today, you can catch it on demand. You got to do it pretty quickly. All be safe. Wonderful weekend. We're here tomorrow on a pregame for LSU and Arkansas.
Palmer Show.
Wow. That's the win. First team, you're up.